Hello and welcome to the Western Wisconsin Journal. My name is Mary Claire Potter, and it's my pleasure today to interview the Hudson City Council candidates running for District 5. District 5 today. So I'd like to welcome Frank Rhodes and John Hoggett. Thank you so much for being here tonight as we look forward to having a conversation and learning a little bit more about you and some of the issues that the City of Hudson is facing. So I will ask each of you to talk about yourself, your background, qualifications, and then have a series of questions that will just alternate between the two of you. So Frank, I invite you to start first and tell us a little bit about yourself, qualifications, and your background.
Okay, thank you. I grew up about 20 miles north of Olympia, Washington, and in a logging community. And since then have worked 30 plus years in corporate management in transportation and the concrete industry. Small business owner. We moved back to Hudson in 1989, specifically to raise our 3 children in Hudson. And it was the best decision we ever made. We moved back and bought the family home that has been in the family since 1951. And my wife's roots run pretty deep here. There's 6 generations in Hudson. And we enjoy the city. It's been good to us. I've been on Police and Fire Commission, Planning Commission, St. Pat's Pastoral Council. And this is more or less the next step for me is to represent the historical area of Hudson where we live.
Great, thank you, Frank. John, a little bit about yourself, your qualifications, background.
Yeah, let's see, before I start, I would like to thank you for taking time to put this forum together. I think it's a great way for the voters to see what we're all about, and it's a pretty easy way to do that. I've been the District 5 alderperson for the past 3.9 years, or almost 4. In that time, I've served on public safety, the fire board, cable board, which we're sitting in their studios now at River Channel. I'm currently serving on the Public Works Committee, liaison to the Public Utilities Board, which is water. So I get to hang out and talk about roads and potholes, right? I'm the chairperson of the Urban Forestry Board, which is new within the last couple of years. And also I was fortunate to become the liaison to the St. Croix County Trail Coalition, which we're working on the notion of connecting the trail from where the new bridge is coming in down to Hudson and the rest of St. Croix County. So it's kind of a cool deal. I went to school at University of Wisconsin and graduated with a degree in map making and the study of maps, which is kind of how I came to be here. I got a job in Egan in 1995. I left Wisconsin Department of Transportation and my wife wanted to move to Hudson because she grew up in Afton. Said the valley's great, you know, rivers are better than lakes, and I was like, well, maybe, but anyway, she's right. So we now live and own our own business in downtown Hudson. We love it here. I know lots of, the 3 of us do for sure. I have a 3.5 block commute to my office, and we provide a few good jobs in town, so commuting is a piece of cake. When I'm not working or being an alderperson, you'll find me out in the river or downtown. I like eating at our nice, fine restaurants locally. I try to support our shops, and I'm usually in the park listening to music when I can.
That's great.
As a business owner in construction materials, a map maker, a technical consultant, so on, I have a mix of experience and skills which I continue to draw upon as a city council representative.
All right. Thank you. John, I'll start with you. So why do you want to continue to serve on City Council representing District 5?
Yeah, I often answer that myself. But, you know, honestly, I'm seeking another term because I believe that I still have many new ideas to offer. And I would like to continue my support of the other things coming to fruition. And there's a lot of those going on here. We've got a new safety building we're looking at. We all know that we're talking about a new high school, maybe not what's gone on up to this point, but it's still considered something that people want. Future plans for the current golf course, I know that's going to be tricky. Major streets, we talked about Wisconsin Street getting done this year, and now Vine Street's on the block for next year, which is great. Protecting our urban forest, and then also trails, recreational trails in St. Croix County I think are important. As your alderperson, I will continue to strive and commit to fiscally responsible government in Hudson. I think city council representatives should look for cost-saving opportunities while still trying to provide great service. I'm highly dedicated to Hudson, success as a community if reelected. I will continue to serve and support Hudson as I have in the past 4 years. And as always, feel free to contact me with any questions about things that people want in District 5.
Okay, thank you, John. Frank, why are you interested in representing District 5 for the City of Hudson?
We live in the historical area of Hudson. I mean, Hudson historical area has some unique challenges that go with it. Some of which we see, some of which we'll see more of in the future. And I think as the city continues to grow and prosper, I'd like to be involved in shaping that, and going to the city council is more or less a natural extension of the volunteer services that I've done thus far.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Frank, what do you think is, the most important issue to be addressed by the Hudson City Council, say in the next 12 months?
I think within the next 12 months, there's a few issues that are on the table now, and I think certainly from the standpoint of working with now the stewardship committee that's involved with the schools on finding a solution to that is very important. I think that as the city continues to grow, there's issues having to do with the golf course, developing that. There's other development going on. And I think some of those are challenges, but they'll also be significant opportunities for the city of Hudson. And I think that we have to protect the taxpayers throughout the challenges that'll face us. And I'd like to be part of that.
All right, thank you. John, what do you see as the most important issue facing the Hudson City Council, say, in the next 12 months?
Well, there are certainly many things to consider, but I'm going to key on 5 that I think are the most important, and I think Frank touched on the one that most people talk about is a new high school. And I know we're not directly responsible for that, but to me this is an opportunity for us to show our community leadership as not only advisors and facilitators, but ambassadors for our public education. People constantly ask, are we going to come up with a solution? I believe we are. We have great academics here, but we have an aging facility and a space problem. So we need to work closely with the school district to make that future happen. And I don't know anybody that isn't wanting to move forward in that direction. Major street projects, we've been aggressive in the past 3 or 4 years in trying to get streets that are very far behind back in the forefront, and then get more in a maintenance mode than where we have been in the past. Vine Street and Wisconsin, I think, are very key to that scenario. A new safety building. As Hudson continues to grow and expand, as Frank was saying, we need to provide better fire, EMS, and police services, and we can't do it from locations that are just sitting downtown. We have to expand out so we can, either have satellite or remote services, and the fire chief has been very good at trying to figure out exactly where that might occur coming down the road. And then we'll talk about these in future questions, but future development of the golf course, and then we've had a number of annexations, as you guys know, being on the planning commission, or applications for annexation.
Right. John, do you see any areas where the City of Hudson could reduce spending without reducing services?
This is a hard question. Unless you're a real super budget hawk, it takes kind of a magic 8-ball to make it happen. However, we have a 5-year capital improvement plan now, which the city has implemented this, and it allows us to look 5 years down the road in all departments and to see the big expenses coming up: a safety building, a new fire engine with a large ladder is, $1.26 million. So what we've done is a really good job at looking at the big capital expenses. So it'd say, okay, at least we've taken a lot of guesswork out of that. So then can we get into the minor spending reduction, and that really seems to be happening now at kind of the department level, but wherever it would make sense to cut spending. We only have so much money in the Urban Forestry Board where I'm involved, so you can only plant so many trees and you can only take out so many trees, and so part of what we're doing is just being creative in how we manage our existing budget. And I think, I'm happy to say that I think we're running pretty lean and mean.
Okay, all right. Frank, do you see any areas where the city could reduce spending without, reducing services?
I think the City of Hudson does a pretty good job
Okay.
of providing the services at the least cost. I think, you know, one of the ways maybe in the future, as the other communities grow around us, might be continuing to look for methods for cost sharing with some of those communities for services provided. But overall, from the standpoint of providing services at a reduced cost, that will be a challenge.
Right. So Frank, as we think about, you know, the city's budget and so forth, do you think the city's plan for maintaining and improving the city's infrastructure is sufficient? Why or why not?
I think infrastructure, if you included parking in that, I think that will continue to be a problem in Hudson, but it's a problem that is in a way good to have because we do have growth. It's a vibrant downtown. I think from an infrastructure standpoint, certainly from this aldermanic ward, aldermanic district, I think we've got some crumbling infrastructure problems that we face more so than some of the other areas of Hudson. It has to do with age. I mean, our house was built in 1903, and we're not the oldest house on the block. So some of that infrastructure is crumbling. We've got stormwater issues down there that are not getting any better. They're getting worse. So there's going to be some attention that'll have to be given to that.
Okay. John, is the city's plan for maintaining or improving the city's infrastructure sufficient? Why or why not?
Well, I would like to say it's better than we were 4 years ago, and I think we're continuing to improve. And you can always do more, but that means more money. And where do we, you know, we've been trying to balance against our debt limit, levy limits, our overall bond rating, and with this 5-year capital improvement plan, it really has allowed us to do better and to target roads, and the stormwater issue is a huge one downtown, and hopefully as part of the Vine Street reengineering, that will become part of that project as well. And we're able to work with other departments because we have better mapping, like public utilities, and see that since we're going to hack up Vine Street, we can look at updating water mains and things like that. So I think we're getting better as time goes on, and we got smarter technology, and that's working. I would like to say in District 5, 6th Street is a nightmare, and it has been for a while. For those who live on 6th, they know it. I just came from the Public Works meeting, and the update is that we'll be continue to improve it, but eventually it's going to need a rebuild, and that continues to be on my radar. So. Okay.
Good for us to know. All right. John, what are your ideas on how to financially sustain the library here in Hudson?
Hitting us with the hard questions. You know, the funny thing is I already believe our library is sustainable. And what I mean that is, granted, we're not open as many hours as we'd like to be. Maybe we don't offer as many programs. But at a minimum, we're controlling our costs and living within funding sources the library board is. So, you know, it really does mean sustaining, technically. So does that mean we're exceeding? And some people would say yes, some people say no. Okay. I think we've added money for 2015 to the budget. And for, I know there's a special committee that started gathering last fall to look at, and there's a lot of people on that too. I don't know, there's 20 or 30 people that are looking at things that they want to improve or what would be the future of the library. So I'll be anxious to see what's going on there, and I will support their efforts however I can.
All right. Frank, what are your ideas to financially sustain the library here in Hudson?
I agree with John. That's a big challenge. You know, the libraries in general face significant challenges as we've gone into the digital age. And trying to determine where they fit in the community is difficult. I mean, I've never heard anybody say we don't need a library, but I have not heard anybody come up with what would be a solution for it. I mean, I think we need to continue to do it. It's my understanding that in the last couple of years, the library from a financial standpoint has done better. But it will be a challenge. And from the standpoint of Hudson, it's in Hudson. Other communities use it. And it will require a lot of attention to try and come up with solutions.
Thank you. Moving on to a little bit different topic. Frank, do you think the City of Hudson should continue to annex land?
I think annexing land, that's been a parcel by parcel basis, and as they've come in, the city has done, and the city planners have done a very good job bringing them in, analyzing each one, the merits, the costs, and determining how those costs will be offset. And I don't see a way, I mean, if we're going to grow as a community, I don't think we stop annexing. I think they do a pretty good job of annexing, and the analysis done, I think, has been good, and I don't see any reason to change the process.
Okay, great. John, do you think the city of Hudson should continue to annex land?
I do.
Okay.
You know, I think growth is good. It can help sustain Hudson, keeps our taxes in check, and potentially raises our property values. More people come in, collect more taxes, properties go up. We're allowed to that definitely helps in maintaining our city and keeping the overall levy limit down to where we are now. That being said, we do have to consider impacts on growth. I think Frank was touching on it. Infrastructure, wastewater treatment facility capacity. The golf course alone would pretty much take up the remainder of that. So how does that factor in to annexing and then, you know, having to budget for that process? So we do have a good master plan and a planning process that allows us to make smarter choices. So I think if we grow smart and make sure that we're, you know, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, I think we'll make good choices in annexing. Okay.
And a little bit on the same subject, John, what is your position on allowing or limiting more residential and commercial development in the city of Hudson?
You know, I think it's still good. I think it helps sustain Hudson and helps grow Hudson. And I think growth is inevitable. So, you know, we need a process to make sure that happens. I guess, you know, along the annexation lines, just continuing to follow the process, make sure it's smart, measure impacts on current facilities and infrastructure, and make sure that we don't, you know, overstep our bounds or find ourselves, you know, in a situation where we can't upgrade or we can't even treat enough water without another $5 or $10 million expense on wastewater. So somewhere along the line, it has to all work.
Okay. Frank, what is your position on allowing or limiting more residential or commercial development here in the city of Hudson?
I don't think limiting the growth, I think the way it's analyzed coming in has been good. I don't think we can afford to limit either one. However, from a commercial and industrial standpoint, that growth is what's going to provide the majority of the revenues that the city will use. I say majority of the revenues, I mean from the standpoint of residential, that's pretty much a wash. The cost of providing those services and bringing them in is pretty much a wash. It's the commercial that generates the revenues necessary to offset other things in other areas.
Right. Frank, what other issues do you think the Hudson City Council should be addressing at this time?
Well, other issues from the standpoint of, I know it's being looked at now and it continues to be looked at, are things like the Carmichael interchange, you know, what's going to be done with that. It was more or less selected as to which of the various options would be chosen, but there's work to be done in terms of who pays for it, whether it's the state or the city, where the state paid for the intersection at 65 at Roberts and also down at Baldwin. They'd like to have Hudson pay more of this one than we'd like. So, you know, where's that going to go? Plus the surfacing on Highway 35 through Hudson 2nd Street. There's going to be some conversations had about who pays for that. But those are the areas, you know, that I could see. And as John had mentioned earlier, I think the EMS fire facility, there's some things that need to be done there. I mean, some long-range planning that needs to be done, and that's already being looked at, so that's nothing new.
Okay, great, thank you. John, any other issues that you feel the Hudson City Council should be addressing at this time?
Frank brings up two really good points. In addition, I kind of looked more short-term. Downtown parking. We've added angle parking, which I think is awesome, and I know every major business along there. I only live a few blocks from there. We all do. Is benefited greatly, and I think that was a great start. But we got a new winery coming. Budget is expanding. Stone Tap's eventually going to add to their banquet facility. So we still got to address a long-term parking issue. And is that a parking ramp or something? But you know that it's already crazy to find parking, even with expanded parking. So LED lighting. I just came from a meeting that we're going to improve. Lighting for the whole city. We actually, for the 5-year process, are budgeting for that. That's going to be huge. It's going to save up to roughly $50,000 a year. I didn't know it was going to be that much, which is great. Emerald ash borer, I know it sounds kind of weird. We're roughly within 15 miles of St. Paul's infestation of emerald ash borer, and 25% of our urban forest is ash trees, not including your trees in your backyard or anything else. And when it comes through a town, it can literally devastate your forest. So we've been working really hard to try to protect our urban forest, take out some ash trees, treat some more, and make sure that our beautiful tree canopy is going to continue to thrive as it has. A couple other projects I've been working on, trying to raise the boat ramp so it doesn't flood half the year, and recreational trails, because I think that's important to St. Croix County. So those are a few things that kind of are on my radar.
Well, Frank and John, I want to thank both of you for being here today. Very informative. You spent a lot of time getting ready, and I appreciate your willingness to serve on Hudson City Council. It's a lot of time and commitment, and we as citizens appreciate those who step up and volunteer to help lead our community. So thank you for that. Frank, any closing comments?
Well, I think, you know, it's an opportunity for me to serve that, you know, I'd like to take advantage of, and it is the I think the historical area, as I mentioned earlier, has some unique challenges from its age. But overall, the city of Hudson has been dynamic. It's got a lot of growth. I'd like to be part of that. And we have friends and family in this area that have been here for a long time. And I'd like to represent them and everybody else in this district. And I would ask people to vote on April 7th and hopefully vote for me. All right.
Thank you, Frank. John, any closing comments?
Absolutely. Again, I'd like to thank you for putting this together. It's been good. I'd also like to recognize Frank for running for office and his willingness to take part in the process. Best of luck to you, Frank. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Hudson District 5 on our city council, and we've lived through a ton of challenges in the past 4 years, and I think we've done a pretty good job hanging together and making things happen. You know, I've made a lot of friends, not only on the council, but in committees and boards, city staff, and I think that's a real key to not only good working relationships, but making things move forward within the city. I pride myself on working directly with people to solve problems. Many people in District 5 have called or emailed. We've identified the situation, connect with you know, appropriate resources at City Hall, and we've taken care of problems. So there's two ways to serve, and that's one of the ways I like to get a lot of things done, just to help people directly. If reelected, I'll continue to work hard for the people of District 5 and all the citizens of Hudson. I'd like to thank everyone for their consideration, and please do not forget to vote on April 7th. Every vote counts. The first election I won by 2 votes. So thank you very much, Mary.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you, Frank Rhodes. Thank you, John Hoggett. Appreciate you being here today. Just a reminder, as they both have said, encourage you to get out and vote on April 7th. It's very important, and there's voting information can be found on the City of Hudson website. So for the Western Wisconsin Journal, I'm Mary Claire Potter. Thank you so much for joining us.